All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of Cards and Coffee. Joining me today, some people know him as Uncle Jake, aka Sergio over here, but most people in the IG community know him as Retroverse UK. Retroverse, how's it going, man?
How's it going, mate?
Good, good. How about you?
I'm not. Yeah, I'm good. Yeah, I've just been staying sober, waiting for you. Shout out to VP because he'll love that.
VP, yeah, Ken.
Yeah, he'll love that. I'm staying sober just to do a podcast with you. That'll be great. Yeah, I'm excited to be here. I've been watching these from the beginning since. Oh God, Pat Fresh. Remember Pat Fresh?
Yeah, back with your boy Gingy, who never came back to your Marvel drinks. What's going on with that?
I don't know. He's busy. He's busy. He's doing his buying and selling clothes, and he messages from time to time. And then he had a baby, and
Nice.
then he goes to Cyprus a lot with his fiance. And
Yeah,
yeah, Gingy's only got like a small brain, hasn't he? Just like a one-track thing, just like that. So we
yeah.
can't do that and then talk to me and other people. Oh, he's fucked.
It has to be
Oh
focused.
shit.
Yeah, no multi.
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. I don't multitask well either, man. I gotta, like, if I'm talking, having a conversation, someone texts me, I have to like pause the conversation and answer the text. You know what I mean, or vice versa. I can't do both at the
Oh,
same time.
I can do all sorts. I'm like one of them. My brain's just going like a million miles an hour. But with text and that, I don't like doing that. Whatever I'm doing, I'm like, you like to stop because I think that person just like you should give that person your attention, shouldn't you?
Mm.
Just stop and do whatever it is and give the attention and then. But yeah. Ginger's all good.
So, for those who don't know, right? Like, how'd you get started with collecting in general? Whether it was Marvel cards, any type of collecting, what did you start with?
Oh shit. Any type of collecting was like Star Wars figures when I was a kid. Maybe whenever I was born in 73, so maybe like 78 or something. And you go past the stores, and the stores have got like all the big figures in them. And then they used to do like I suppose you call it like a big diorama in the
Yeah.
big stores at Christmas time. And you
Um,
go past and there'd be like four windows of like Empire Strikes Back, and they built a great big snow diorama, Planet Hoth, and all that business. So I suppose that was the first thing. And then over the years, I've just like kind of always picked up bits of stuff. I've always picked up like I was into toys like years ago, the 90s Star Wars toys, but I was only buying the obscure stuff and selling it straight away. I think it was the power of the Force. So there was like a resurgence after the Kenners in the 70s and 80s. That all stopped. Then there was a resurgence, and I thought, oh God, Star Wars toys. You know, I was big into Star Wars toys. So I bought and sold them, and then PlayStation games. Used to do a lot of that and collect a lot of them. Used to get them imported over from Thailand, sell the foreign copies in the UK. Everything I've done, I've always bought and sold. I've never kept. I've enjoyed buying and selling and just like got rid of more stuff. And then I suppose first time I started keeping stuff was 2019 pandemic.
mm,
Like a lot of us, RJ, as you know, and a lot of people know, was a professional Xbox player playing Gears of War.
mhm.
The pandemic stopped it in like March 2019, and he said, "Listen, Dad," he said, "I've lost my earnings." So he was traveling the world and getting an income, winning money in competitions, at events, and then winning money online at weekends. And he said, "I've no second income now, Dad. It's like my job just stopped." So he wasn't working, he was just playing Gears of War for a living.
Yeah.
And his job just stopped. And he said, a good mate of mine, he buys and sells Yu-Gi-Oh cards. I said, right, well, let's look into some of this Pokemon and Yu-Gi-Oh. He said, well, I don't know anything about Yu-Gi-Oh. We'll get into Pokemon. I said, all right, no problem. So my first entry with cards was, it would have been maybe May 2019, I
Mhm.
reckon. And he just got in touch with some guy off eBay. And the guy came round to Jay's house, and he pulls up in this tiny little car. Probably told the story before. And he opens the boot, and he's got like behind there's a Black Star promos. He's got booster boxes from like Evolutions, right up to present day. And he brings him in the house, and I'm saying, Jay, I have no idea what's going on here. So the guy's giving us a sales talk, and it's really weird because you're all sat in a mask and that, and none of us know what's going on with COVID. Yet we're buying all this stuff second-hand off this guy. So anyway, I said, I'll tell you what, I'll throw 1,000 on the booster boxes because I looked on eBay and the 1,000 for the booster boxes, they were probably 14, 15. I said, I'll tell you what, I'll give you 1,000 for them booster boxes. And that's what we did. And that's how we first got into collecting. And then from there was the big thing. Remember Champions Path?
Yes.
The Pokemon, the Champions Path ETBs, they went used, didn't they?
Yeah.
And you couldn't order them. So I bought 50 from the shop, or 52, I think it was, which is funny. And I was just lucky, I suppose. I just checked every store online. I just said, and Jay said, you can't buy 50, they won't let you. I said, I'm sure they will. And I went online and said, no, you couldn't. So I rang them up, said, I want 50. Can I get a discount? They said, no discount. I said, but we will give you 50 if you want. So we got them in, and they were like, maybe I paid $50, can't remember, and just sold them all like $100 each within a few weeks. And then we just went nuts on Pokemon, opened an online shop. Hidden Fates, we went nuts on Hidden Fates, bought loads of tins. So you used to get the 3 tins with the Charizard. I probably still got an empty one. I don't know. If anyone checks my first ever Instagram post, if you scroll down, it shows about, I don't know, 30, 40, 50 Hidden Fates Charizard tins. So we're going around the toy shops buying the Charizard tins, and people have like had a go at me for doing this. And then we sold them on eBay straight away. So we're buying them for 35 and selling them for 70 within the same day. And it's all right saying you're a scalper, this, that, the other. But my son had lost his job, and we was finding a way to make money. And we found people are lazy. People on eBay don't always check. You can go and buy stuff, and you can flip it the same day, and have no problem with the word flipping it.
Yeah.
And that's what we did. Yeah.
Now, going back, Jake, you mentioned earlier, like you said that right away, you've always been someone who buys and sells, and that you don't keep much during that time span. What is the oldest thing, and not Pokemon related, but even going maybe back to your Star Wars stuff? Have you kept? What's the oldest thing you've kept since you started back in the late 70s?
There isn't 94 flare prints, which I bought in 94.
So that's the oldest, like 30 years ago.
Yeah. Nice. I didn't keep. I don't. Oh, let me look. No. I don't keep stuff because I always right. I have this theory, and I always say to people. In fact, I was looking at a Stan Lee X-23 signed comic today. Number 1, Billy Tan, and I looked at it, and it's $1,000, and I thought, I'm not bothered about sign, but it'd be nice to my collection. And then I'm thinking to myself, wait a minute, all the older people like Stan Lee, but people don't know who Stan Lee is now. And I'm just thinking, am I going to put $1,000 on that? And then, because I want to leave my stuff to my grandkids, most probably. And I'm thinking, no, nobody's going to care about Stan Lee. Nobody cares about Jack Kirby. Never mind Stan Lee. I'm just like,
well, no, you gotta watch out with that Jack Kirby, man. You'll get Sergio and Doom and Free to come after you, saying stuff
on everything. What?
Yeah, you heard. Hey, you heard it here. And also, might be controversial, but they're mad about the 1989 Batmobile being the best Batmobile. I don't know what the problem is. It is what it is.
Well, it was the one after that. I remember the copy. What was it called? The animated cartoon copy of the 89. I don't think it had a name. Maybe number 2 they called it. I don't know.
Well, if you're talking about the second movie with Michael Keaton, 1992, Batman Returns, you're talking about the movie, or you're talking about the animated?
No, I'm on about the animated Batman.
Oh yeah, that's how not good it was. It doesn't even have a name. To your point,
it doesn't have a name. That's what I'm saying. It's
crazy.
Just number 2.
Yeah, but going back to that's a good point you're bringing up, man. Like, is the people that because that's one thing I always talk about with Doom and Sergio is like we're nostalgic to these items because of our age. But to your point, who's going to be nostalgic towards Stan Lee or Jack Kirby, right? Like 20 years from now, they're
Exactly
probably
that.
going to be more nostalgic to maybe your Jim Lees, your Todd McFarlanes, maybe. Like those are slightly younger people, but and they may not. It's hard to predict the future, obviously, right? If we predicted the future and we go buy lottery tickets,
We'd be millionaires, wouldn't we? We'd all be millionaires. But no, I mean, I've always said it about collectibles. It's like Elvis. Elvis is probably the biggest collectible in the world. You go 50 years in the future, and he might still be there. But there'll be no Bob Dylan. There'll be no, I don't know, the Beatles. Maybe not even, I don't know, Eminem and Dre and people like that will last a lot longer, won't they? But
mm,
you go another 100 years, and they'll be gone. So I'm always wary of like get rid of stuff while I can get rid of stuff. And
mm,
even at the end, it tails off, and I'm not getting as much as I could have done previously. As long as I've been selling all the way through, it kind of it doesn't matter. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But that's just me. That's
yeah.
just
No, it's a good approach. I think definitely, like if you're strictly just talking about as a reseller, then that makes the most amount of sense. 100%. If you have any emotional attachment towards stuff, though, that makes it a little bit harder. But I was going to ask you this, but I mean, I guess it's the question answers itself because you said you've been doing this, the reselling, like straight away. I was thinking maybe some of that reason was because you're slightly older, so you were like you're more conscious of the fact that you're like, what can I buy with this money instead of having it just sitting in my display case or X, Y, and Z. I could go on vacations. I could do this and that. So, meaning I wonder if my perspective will change and with even just selling or collecting in 5 or 10 years. I'm sure it will. I just don't know in what way.
I reckon so, yeah. I mean, like I said, me and Jay started out to make money. We were loving the collecting. We were loving every single minute of the collecting. I mean, we were so happy that cards came to our hands. We graded them and, like hundreds at a time. And we loved the cards so much. I mean, Black Star promos were one of our favourites from the 2000s, and give them out at the cinema. And you
Yes,
get them in like the cell. In fact, I've got one
the
just to
Mew.
show you because well, I didn't know what he was going to ask about. So I just kind of got a mix of stuff around me. So they get them out in the cinemas. There's 52 in the set. Some are really expensive, some are not, and they're just like that, just
Yeah,
a cellophane.
yeah, the little
And
Mew.
yeah, you're not. We had hundreds of these. You're not supposed to know what's inside, but if you tap the card down, you can see what the card is and that.
Yeah,
And we enjoyed every minute of collecting them. We didn't have a full set, but we got close and we had loads of PSA 10s and that. And we enjoyed the journey, but so Jay needed money, so was conscious that he needed money, so we were doing that and splitting the money.
yeah.
I mean, we
Did
opened an online.
did
No,
did your did your son? Because that's for anybody that doesn't know, he's referring to his son. Him and his son were collecting this. Your son, did
yeah,
he was he more of a collector than yourself, or he was just as much just selling himself? Like, did he
no,
enjoy it to the point where he wanted to keep anything, or he was always like, nope, let's sell it?
sell it,
So,
just sell it.
okay,
Yeah, the same as a lot of his mates who are gamers buy and sell cards. There's a lot of them who buy and sell cards. I mean, you'll talk to him and like some of his mates still have like 50 to 100 grand's worth, even Yu-Gi-Oh cards,
mhm,
and they'll have them stacked up. But the key is what we used to do. So we had the shop and we get like 40, 50 boosters at a time, depending what it was. We might get 100 boosters, 100 ETBs. The key was to move it all, sell it all, keep 10. Move it all, sell it all, keep 10. And that was our process. And
mhm.
it did us good. At one point, we maybe had like 40, 50 grand's worth of Pokemon stuff. We used to work it out, every month what we had. So I bought Jay a new kitchen in the house when I bought his house. I gave him a new kitchen, sold him a house cheap. We went on a few holidays with the family. We booked, I think I remember telling you when we was in Mallorca, in that villa and that. Well, Pokemon cards paid for that. So
Mhm.
we did loads of trips like that, and the kids needed stuff, the grandkids needed stuff. We used cards money to pay for that. But we loved every single thing in the collection we were collecting and selling. Don't get me wrong, we loved every single thing. And we've still got, I mean, you can see, you don't know which way to do it. Lots of binders there with stuff. We've
Mhm.
still got, I've still got cards that we need to grade, and whether we keep or don't keep is a different matter. But yeah, so Jay loved the process of collecting, but he was always really thinking about this might not be worth $100 next week. You know,
That
you
makes
look at
sense. Yeah.
inflation. You look at inflation, it's like I looked at Champions Path ETBs today, and they're still the same price I sold them for. That would be like 5 years ago. They're still selling for the same price. So why would I have kept
Yeah. That
five
makes sense.
grand's worth of ETBs in my cupboard for 5 years that's doing nothing?
Yeah.
Inflation goes up, the ETBs are no longer worth what they're worth, and have been sat on the cash.
Now,
So Jay was very good like that.
yeah. Good. Yeah, that sounds like a good strategy. I like the sell 40, keep 10 out of every product. I was going to ask you, moving into Marvel, how did that change like your approach? Did you guys have the same approach with Marvel that you did with Pokemon, or what were differences that you noticed straight away when you got into Marvel? I think we might have lost Jake.
Is that me, Jesus? Was my Wi-Fi gone?
Yeah, your wife. I can hear you, but I can't see you. Can you hear me? There you go. I can see you a little bit now. Can you hear me? I can
It
hear
went
you.
nuts then. Was that my Wi-Fi or yours? Probably
Yeah, that
mine.
was yeah, that was your Wi-Fi.
Yeah, it just like died for a minute.
Yeah, no, no worries. I was gonna tell you.
Yeah, I'm back.
So what was the difference you noticed when you got into Marvel, like compared to Pokemon? What differences did you notice, and what was your approach?
Uh, Basically, I think I just got a little bit. Pokemon was all right. I was enjoying it, but I was only in it to make money.
Mhm.
I didn't want to save too much. I've still got binders and stuff. Still got cards. Marvel, I got in because I wanted to, because I was interested in the characters and I wanted to make money. Don't get me wrong. But I've been chatting to Swami, and
Yeah,
me and Swami got into Marvel at exactly the same time, to be honest with you. And we're both on about, we've been talking about Dragon Ball Z and that, because I was trying to get into a bit of Dragon Ball Z and just changing things up. You get bored, don't you? You know,
mm,
like a couple of years, and like, I need to move on. And so,
mm,
yeah, I got into Marvel and I thought, I tell you what, I didn't like sketch cards. When I first looked at eBay and it was like sketch cards, what's this? A 3-year-old's drawn this. I'm looking and thinking, oh no, that's not for me. And I think the first thing I really got into was like Flair Retro 2013 and 2017. But before that, I was into like the comic images cards,
yeah.
you know, like Mutant Trivia, the covers. I was always into. That was more me. The Art Adams sets, the Jim Lee set. That was more what I was interested in. Just the older type of cards.
Yeah.
So to me, I was into. So I was into the older type of cards, and then I jumped. I didn't care about anything else till maybe 2013. So I didn't like the gold signatures. I thought they looked cheap and a bit rubbish. I thought, "Nah, I'm not into that." I was
Yeah.
into Jim Lee's X-Men, but I'd always wanted to collect comics when I was younger. But
Mhm.
in the UK where I live, there's not many comics. So to me, it was like a good transfer, thinking, oh, well, I know these characters anyway. I know from X-Men 97 and bits of comics I've read when a kid. And I just thought this is an easy. And I looked to make money. And I did think there's a lot of stuff here that just doesn't make sense. So we spoke about this, haven't we?
Yeah.
You look at stuff and you think, that doesn't make sense how cheap that is.
Mm.
And I'm looking, thinking, No, I need to buy a load of that. I just need to buy because I won't hide it. I've always been into collecting and buying and selling.
Now, that's what I was going to tell you. That's one of my questions to pause you there. When you say, that doesn't make sense that it's that low. Do you think that that's a skill that you acquired throughout collecting and selling, or do you think that that's intuition?
No, it's a skill. It's a skill for me. So when I was a kid, one of the first things I did, my uncle used to work in like a store that sold magazines and toys and stuff. And sometimes he'd come home with the surplus stock,
Mm.
and he'd just say, "Oh, I'll give you this." So I was straight in the schoolyard the next day. I used to have a bubble gum machine, and I'd get him put to 2 pence in the bubble gum machine. I'd give him a bubble gum, and no, you, you've got to learn that. It's no use watching YouTube. I mean, and somebody because half of these people on YouTube, they're just like pimping out whatever they've got in the back closet. They're just
Mhm.
like, "Oh, I can't believe this hasn't risen in value yet. I'll drag this out and start." No, you got to buy and sell. You got to make mistakes. You got to fail. You got to be willing to lose the money.
Mhm.
If you lose it, don't care about it. Just move on, fail, and try something else. No, yeah, it's something you learn, isn't it, over years? I think.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you feel the same way when it comes to, like, for example, on the Pokemon side, it was a very simple process. Buy pretty much every new release, a certain amount of booster boxes, grade them, flip them, move on. With Marvel, like, were you more aware of the artwork, or was it still the same for you?
Slightly the same. I was still into the artwork. The artwork drew me in.
Mhm.
I mean, I didn't like. I mean, like the '94 masterpieces of Hildebrand Brothers.
Mhm.
The first time I saw that, I didn't like it. I was just like, and I didn't like the gold writing. To me, it was just like
Mhm.
too much. It was just like, no, it's not my style. So what I did, and in fact, the binders are up there somewhere. Uh, I bought Impel 90. I bought 91, 92, 93. I bought masterpieces. I just bought a whole chunk. Probably paid about $1,000. And bought 94 stuff, 95 stuff. So bought not everything, but a lot of it. And I just thought, let's go through it and we'll see. And so then I enjoyed the artwork. Then I started respecting what had been done in the 90s. I bought
Mhm.
92, 90, basically everything. But besides 96 that I don't like, I'm not into.
Yeah.
And then I got into the artwork. But to me, my brain, I've still got to buy and sell stuff because I don't want to pay. I'm not a rich person. I'm a working man like us all. So if I want nice things in the hobby, there's no way
Mhm.
on this earth I'm taking bank loans or not feeding my family or not paying my mortgage. It,
Mhm.
it has to pay for itself or else. It's just not for me. It's just not my way.
Yeah, that makes sense. On that note, too, by the way, like, again, based in the UK. How much do you think that has affected or costed you overall? Like, meaning, had you been for just, and I'm not even talking about back in the '70s, just if you were here in the US from 2019 moving forward, how much do you think that would have helped your buying and selling?
Shit, I think I'm a nearly millionaire.
Yeah.
Nah, not a millionaire, but oh, it's so hard, oh, it's just I didn't realize how hard it was with Marvel.
Mm.
It's just it's not. So I started off on ComC when I found ComC. So I bought lots of Rittenhouse diamonds,
Mhm.
which I had a ton of them. I bought 13, 15, 17, bought all sorts of stuff. And I could just flip it on ComC. I was flipping lots of it on ComC. Just buying up everything I felt. I didn't know what I was doing. I was just like,
You're
I'd
wild.
watch Pat, I'd watch Pat Fresh and I'd watch you lot and no offense, and I'm just watching thinking, you lot don't even know what you're doing. You lot, and there was only you. I always thought, I didn't even know your name then. I thought that elusive guy, he's my kind of guy. I thought he's talking sense, even though he's winging it, he's feeling it. I could see he was
Yeah.
feeling it, and I just thought, and Fausto obviously knows his stuff. Of course, he knows his stuff, but and everybody was winging it, and I did the same as you. I just felt stuff. I just thought,
Yeah.
and of course they ask questions. Of course, like they ask lots of questions from people.
Yeah.
But just felt it. But it's just so hard. I mean, my first shipment I got back, and I've been collecting for quite a while and selling them. So I sent all the royal foils home,
Mm.
and well, yeah, maybe all of them. Yeah, I spent about £5 on royal foils, I reckon, and I sent them all back, and the tax was like $500. But I'm shitting myself, from coming from ComC to the UK and thinking, oh God, no, no. And at that point, like the Miles Morales was selling for like $1,500 each,
Yeah.
which I should have sold. I should have sold all of them. I was too busy. Well, Swami asked me, said, I've got a buyer, I think, for everything. And I had a lot. And I mean a lot. I nearly had more than 199 set, nearly a full 25 set, half a full 10 set. I had a chunk. So I was scared, when they were coming over. I was just like, if these all go now, I've lost £5 and I've lost potential sales.
Mm.
So that's really frightening. Then customs hold them. I get away with just paying them $500. I get them back. I'm so busy with doing buildings and work. I didn't even have a chance to sell them and missed the boat on all the sales I could have had, which is all right. It's fine. And I ended up selling from here. And most of them went back to, well, in fact, they all went back to America. And then you're just selling them like dribs and drabs, people are in contact with, and eBay and this, that, the other. I still made a fortune on them. But then I did another package, the last one I sent, and that was like £4 worth of cards. And the tax was like $1,000. And it was just like, shit.
Mm.
They changed the rules, on importing stuff.
Mm.
So the taxes went up. And then, so you then try and sell in the UK. There's no buyers in the UK, mate. There's
Yeah.
no, maybe 10.
One thing I
You
wanted
know,
to point out right there to pause you when we're talking about, you know, at the peak for Marvel, at least certain things, and every card's had different peaks, by the way, right? Because the first peak we saw was probably
definitely.
with PMGs. Then we saw
PMGs, man.
then we saw the Rubens and Diamonds. Then we saw
Yeah, yeah.
holograms and so on and so forth. One thing I think
75th
about,
anniversary.
yeah, and one of the things I think about, and I wanted to ask you this is not so much the collectors, right, that bought from you at peak, but I'm referring to the investors that bought at those prices. What do you think they're thinking now? Because there's people that, let's be honest, I heard of sales where guys sold a blue PMG Loki for $16,000. What do you think that investor's thinking when his card's worth maybe 1,500 now?
Right, there's two ways to this, isn't there? I've thought this loads of times. There's two ways to this. I remember when you could get 2013 green PMGs, and I was offering people $500, and I was close to getting them. I didn't get them, but I was close. I just needed to put up the other few hundred, and I would have got them. And then fast forward, sorry, Andy, I'm just on a podcast today. Fast forward a few months, and like these are going for 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 grand, whatever they were going for. I mean, yeah, I'm using the lowest price
Yeah.
comparison for a PMG and the highest price sell comparison. Of course I am, because that's the game, isn't it?
Mhm.
And that's what they're going to have to do, because they've took this game, they've played this game, they've all got excited, thought we're all into big money here. They've
Mhm.
got lots of influencers, and you all know they all know we were guilty of it, trying to drag in sports cars investors and millionaires and this, that, the other. You all made your money off it with your little inner circle groups, and I've seen the photos and the messages, boys and girls. I saw them all. I know what you were doing. We all knew what you were doing. It'd be better if you just admitted it. But anyway, that doesn't matter. And so all these people, I think there's three tiers. So I think the top people who really put the money into it,
Mhm.
I hope that they're like me. And so when I did my Marvel, I had Marvel and Pokemon, Dragon Ball Z all going on, selling, going round and round and round at the same time. It didn't matter to me if I spent 5K on the Marvel cards, because I would never take less than 5K. I could afford to sit on them
Mhm.
because the profits have paid for them.
Correct.
So in one aspect, I hope that's what they've done.
With sports cards,
Now,
put their profits into the Marvel.
yeah, if you've done
Mhm.
that, it isn't going to matter to them, and this is why I keep buying and selling and buying and selling,
Mm.
and they can sit on them. which is fine. Which I think most of them. I can't see any of these big investors just going in saying, "I've seen the big nugget in Marvel cards," because we all did the same thing. Sports cards went up, Pokemon went up, comics went up, went back down, went back up again because I looked at comics. Then it went into Marvel. So anybody with half a brain, you'd just be looking and thinking, right, this is just the next thing.
Mhm.
And so my theory is that most of them are big card collectors and collectibles collectors anyway. And it might not matter so much. But if you put it, and I hope to God nobody has really. And if you have, well, such is life. If you put lots of money in, like I mean, obscene amounts of money into them cards, all you can do is sit. You can
Mhm.
just sit. That's it. You just wait 5, 10. And they might go down and you might kid yourself in 5 years' time, say, well, I paid 5 grand for this. Now it's worth 5 grand or 6, but you don't take into account inflation and how that money's just been sat there doing nothing. Your 6 grand isn't really worth 6, probably worth about 3. You know, it's just like,
Yeah.
yeah, so I don't know. The thing I do hope that there isn't a load of people who took out loans, who took out credit cards, who did
Mhm.
whatever, and said, I'm going to spend the 4 grand on this, 5 grand on this. Thinking because we've seen all the influencers talking about it, saying, oh, this is going to be huge. I've just sold, I'm not telling anyone what I sell anything for. And the next thing you see them at a show, I've just sold this for that. And you know what I mean? It's just like hypocrites. And the followers then buy that card.
Yeah.
And we all know by the time you mention them cards, I don't generally mention cards until I'm ready to sell them. I'm buying what people don't want. I've always bought what people don't want, what I feel, and
Mm.
they don't want it. Then when it's time to sell, then I sell them. So I just hope there's a lot of people doing that. But long-winded answer. The rich people will have that much money and they'll be going around that many different cards. It's just another part of the business,
Mm.
and they'll don't okay how they won't. I think the rich people who spent a lot of money on Marvel are probably just like collectors like Aoki or whatever, and it doesn't matter to them.
Yeah.
And then it's the middle ground that worries me, basically. But
That makes sense. Yeah, that's a good point. And the other thing, speaking of, I think I lost my train of thought. Go ahead. I'll get back to it. There was a question
I
in
was
regard to.
talking for that long.
No, no, you're good. No, no. I had just thought about it, but go ahead.
No, no, that was it. That's it, really. That's just the three parts of it that I think about. You know, it's just, and I still think just always be ready to sell everything. Everything I have is for sale.
Yeah,
Everything,
I,
except for gifts. Gifts are not for sale. No chance.
yeah, yeah. Now I remember what I was going to ask you. It was about when you mentioned about the influencers showing cards and stuff. That's one of the things that's always surprised me because for example, when I got into the Pokemon thing, yes, I heard the influencers, and I think at the time there was like the SM Prats, there was
Yeah,
Gentleman Pokemon, there was
yeah,
a few big guys, but I still
yeah.
went and still did my research. I didn't take their word for gospel, like so. That's my question to you. Why do you think so many people? Do you think it's laziness? What do you think it is that they see someone talk about something and they get excited, maybe, or they feel FOMO and then they go out and buy, as opposed to, you know what? Let me still do research before I put X amount of money into this.
Lack of knowledge. Lack of knowledge. Initial knowledge is one thing. The other thing is the way we live within social media today.
Mm,
It's just everything's so fast, everything's so much. I mean, look at sets to come 3 weeks later, gone, forgotten about. Well, not 3 weeks, that's exaggeration, but
uh,
soon
3 months,
after,
3 months at least. Yeah.
I think so, yeah. I put it down to lack of knowledge. I mean, don't get me wrong, I get excited. I've been looking at Flair Ultra Wolverine X23 cards, and I'm looking at some of these, I'm thinking the some of them are too cheap. It's not the best set, yeah, I admit it's not, but there's some really great cards that are too cheap. And I'm thinking, shall I buy it? Shall I buy it? I've overpaid for stuff before. So
Yeah.
FOMO's all right. A little FOMO is all right. Just know that you're overpaying.
And be
When you
okay with
know
it.
that you're overpaying, be all right with it. Yeah. And it all comes down from, again, experience from. You need to buy and sell to get experience. You just need to buy and sell, unless you're just going to collect. Now, if you're not buying and selling, the only other thing you can do then is research. And part of the stuff I love is like digging deep and looking into stuff and learning about sets, learning about prices and that. I'm not. I don't care to look at prices and follow prices and pop reports. I should do, but I don't care. I mean, most of the things I've got around me, and I've got thousands or so. I probably know most of the prices I paid for a lot of them. I just have that kind of brain.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't research pop reports. I don't research this, that, the other, because everything moves so quick, and you can spend all your hours on, GPD and eBay, Terapeak. I use basic, simple. I don't even use 130 point anymore because I can't be bothered with that. And I just go. It's not deep what I do. I look at eBay sales. I look in the last week. I look in the last month, the last 2 months. That is all that matters to me. Doesn't matter what something was 3, 4 years ago.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it was last year. It doesn't matter what it is for sale. And that's me done. Really,
Now,
to be
let me
honest with
ask
you.
you about collectibles as a whole, because obviously, like we both mentioned, in 2019 it's been really going up in all sorts. By the way, obviously we're focusing on Pokemon and comic books and Marvel cards, but this it was the same thing for shoes. It was the same thing for coins. It was the same thing for any collectible. Now, there's always, if you hear everybody talks about market manipulation and a bunch of shady stuff in general going on with collectibles as a hobby. Partly because obviously it's not a regulated market. Do you foresee now that maybe the IRS or your boys over there across the pond, I don't know what they call the IRS, but the guy, your uncle, maybe his name's not Sam over there, but your uncle wants his money. Do you think that that the collectibles in the next 10 years are going to become a regulated market?
Oh my
There you go. You're coming back. I can hear you. There you go.
You there, Jesus?
Yeah.
Sorry, mate. My Wi-Fi is just going nuts.
No, no worries. Did you hear my question, or you
Uh,
want me to repeat it for you? You got it?
no, I heard the question as far as Uncle Sam and my Uncle Sam over here. That
I
was
was
as
gonna
far as
say,
I needed to know.
yeah, I was gonna ask you. Do you think in the next 10 years that our governments are gonna make collectibles a regulated market, or do you foresee them still being like the wild wild west that they are?
No, it'll never change. I don't understand why people say this. I hear it quite a lot in conversations. I was looking at buying some comics today, and somebody was saying, "Oh, I've got X amount of comics, and what about the taxes?" And then everybody dives in. You must do this and you must do that. And I'm sure people are grassing each other up or snitching on them or whatever you call it. In the US, I don't understand it. Vinyl records still to this day been out
Mm,
years, not regulated. Memorabilia, not regulated. They're not going to be regulated. It's just people scaremongering because they've nothing better to do. Look at coins, not regulated. Most, even if you're flipping the stuff, you can argue that no, I'm not flipping it. I'm
yeah.
buying it for me. I
Oh, I
changed my
see.
mind. My circumstances changed. It's impossible to regulate. The only way you can regulate it is like when we were a business doing it, what we should have done. And a big tip for anybody. Yeah, so there's two ways of doing it. So it won't get regulated. I don't care what anybody says. You can all put your stuff all over Facebook and this, that, the other. It's never going to get regulated. Never has been regulated. The only way it will be regulated, if you're selling something for 50K, just pay some tax. You're gonna have to pay some tax. You're selling something 50K, of course you are.
Yeah, of course.
And it isn't going to happen. The only way the regulation, the tax will be, it'll just be through businesses like we were.
Mhm.
And then if you're going to do that and set it up as a business, I think I told you this maybe 1 or 2 years ago. We were talking about it. Make so generate so much money through that business that were like my electrical business. How much like VAT registered? So I pay the taxes, but I get the taxes back from anything that I buy.
Yeah.
So my advice to be if you want to open a shop and pay taxes and do it legit, do that, buy all the stuff, don't pay the taxes because you don't owe the tax man until you sold that product. So you're getting that product 20% cheaper. And if you're smart enough to know what's what and what's good, you can store that for quite a long time, still
Yeah.
do everything legit, and still pay the taxes on that product. Uh,
Once you sell it. Yep.
yeah, that's the only regulation I foresee. The big, all. I mean, even the bedroom sellers. We was a bedroom seller at first, but then you had to, register and blah blah blah. And yeah, you do, but even that won't be regulated. I just think, well, in America, the distributors, you've got to be quite a big shop to be a distributor in America anyway. So they've already done you in America. Over in Europe, that's not the same thing. You can still be a bedroom seller, not as much now, but you could still be a bedroom seller. So you've already been regulated. You're already paying tax.
Mhm.
You're already doing what you do. No, it's never going to happen.
Now, the last question I have for you, and move on. We'll move on to some fun stuff. But on the collectible side, still, you know, since 2019, again, everything went up. Everything has been like kind of like evening out, or more than anything, coming down to where most people agree with the prices nowadays for most things. It's settled in the market. I feel.
I don't. I really
You
don't, man.
you don't think
Do
so?
you think? In
I think so.
Marvel?
Um,
Mm.
no, I'm talking about more established markets like sports cards,
Oh,
Pokemon.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. Yeah,
like you've
sorry.
seen
Yeah,
those
yeah,
big drops. But what I was going to mention is, I was talking to Doom about this. Like most people, they want to find something niche. They want to find something that people haven't found that's underappreciated. Again, and just to flip it. Do you feel like that's become more and more harder now that again everything rose as a collectible in general? Like even for example, you had Gary Vee. For how many years did Gary Vee go on a fucking personal campaign to tell people to go to garage sales and flip? Right. So you have even like plushies, coffee mugs going up. Like, so my point being is like, do you think it's near impossible now to find something like Marvel where you could 5x, 10x your money? Do you think it's going to be now more so like small margins, like back in 10 years ago, where it's like 25% margin? Maybe you're making 50%, but you're not doubling your money anymore.
I think it goes in cycles, doesn't it?
Mm,
Everything goes in cycles. I mean, I remember not even that long ago, retro BMXs were going for a fortune, an
mm,
absolute fortune. Things will move on and go on in cycles, I think, no matter what collectible that is, because people will get bored and money will move in and out, and there'll be certain trends. It's like Star Wars movies. Star Wars movies to start off were brilliant. They brought them back out. They weren't very good, so they dropped off. The merchandise dropped off, and then they brought better ones out. Then it rose up again. It's like the MCU films.
yeah,
Started off with Blade and X-Men and all that good stuff. Then we got to the Spider-Man, and it was just like, oh no, these are no good. And then they got to the Avengers and they got back up again. Then they tried these really crappy Spider-Man films they've been doing. It's just like dumped again. Then
yeah,
you got Deadpool and everything will be in cycles. But to go back to your point of finding gems, that's what modern collectors are doing. So that when we used to sell the Pokemon stuff, we used to go in the local comic shop and there'd be, I'm not saying young kids, but 20 odd, years of age and coming in to buy booster boxes in the Pokemon shop. Now they were only doing the research back for like 3 years, 4 years. That was their block done.
mhm,
And I think this is the big resurgence. This is the big thing with modern stuff. So I was talking to the guy in the comic shop, and I go at the back looking at his Silver Age and Bronze Age comics and that. You know what I mean? he's got all his moderns at the first. He said people are not interested in these. He said that they've just got this short window, and we used to laugh about it. He said because they're trying to find the modern grail, aren't they? They're all trying to find whatever that modern grail is because the good stuff's gone, and they don't want to pay for the good stuff, do they? And the
Yeah.
good stuff's gone, and yeah, but it's not impossible, is it? It's not impossible. You just
It's
need to
funny.
find it.
Go ahead.
I'm just saying you need to find what nobody else is looking at.
Yeah.
That's it.
It's funny that you mentioned that when you say the good stuff is gone and people are trying to find the modern grails, because I feel that that's what's going on specifically in the hobby with us with OA, right? All the good OA
Definitely, yeah.
has been gone and it's been tucked away. You're not going to want to pay,
Yeah.
An X-Men 22 or 266 cover, the original
No.
pencils or inks. So people are now investing in all this OA, hoping that they get the one piece that, yeah,
Exactly that.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's true.
which is kind of nuts because card away is like ridiculous. Some of the prices. I mean, you look at Bianchi, and fair play for what it gets. I'm not saying any away is worth anything. You know, it's worth whoever to whatever. But I've got Bianchi comic books, and didn't cost me a lot of money.
Mhm.
Maybe 20 on the population count. 9.8 maybe cost me $100. Outside of cards, it isn't like huge in the comic book world, but you look at what his OA sells for, and you're just like, shit, that's like, copper nuts price.
Mhm.
But there's a lot of good comic book OA you can get, which can get for like 1 or 2 thousand from different artists. So it's its own niche thing, isn't it? The Marvel card, original art. It's expensive.
Yeah. Yeah, very expensive. Now, Jake, to wrap up the episode with you, you mentioned, like, again, going back to the beginning, you sell most of what you have, but currently, if there was a fire in your house, what are 5 things you're grabbing and taking with you currently?
Oh, currently. Oh yeah, I wasn't expecting this. I was expecting something else, but right, I'll show you this just because it's new.
Okay.
I'm torn between that what
Let me put
Michael
you on.
Munshaw just did for me.
Oh, nice. That X-23. Yeah, cover recreation.
Yeah, of X-Men 450, and it's the same barcode of X-Men 450.
Mm.
So it's new and it's from a mate and it's from Mental Con, so that'd probably be one. But I'd have to slide in with it, that, which is
Oh,
actually a
nice.
metal card. I've only ever seen one from Joel Gomez. If you
Yeah,
check him out on Instagram, he is. I've never seen the card before or since,
that one's
but I
nice.
messaged him and it is from a set. It is actually from a card set. That's two. Oh, got to get five. I knew you might do something, so oh, okay. Soccer
Oh,
card.
yeah.
The legendary player who's won everything in the game. That's from Topps Project 22.
Just not a 10.
So
The alpha. Not a big deal.
it's the alpha. Yeah, no, not a big deal at all. So what they did, I sent you one of these, didn't I?
Yeah.
So every week they had 5 different players and 5 different artists, and they only printed 2 demand. So if only 500 of that player got bought, they only printed 500 of the cards. So these are already low premiums, and it's an alpha, yeah. And he's like a hero, a soccer hero. Shout out
Mm.
to Gingy because he's so jealous I had that. So that's three. Is that three or two? I don't know what we're counting
That's
that
three.
as.
That's three.
Okay, then. I suppose you've probably all seen this before, but
Yeah,
the Joe
Rubenstein.
yeah, he's so underrated. Like, I think like he worked on Frank Miller books and that, and the '82 Wolverine series. He's worked on everything. He's a legend.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was nice.
I'd have to say that, wouldn't it? It didn't. wasn't a great fortune, to buy. Maybe $300, something like that. And you think like the money you're paying for sketch cards of
Yeah, that's
somebody you
true.
don't even know, and the card's dodgy. And it's like I can get something from a legend there for a few hundred. And I mean, I could change my mind next week about all of this. We'll go for that.
Oh, a little X-Men Lego set.
2000, yeah, 2013.
That's nice. Magneto,
Yeah,
Wolverine, Deadpool.
yeah. I've been tempted to open it a few times just for like the Magneto, because I've got a few of
Mm,
the Wolverine. I've got
yeah.
one of the Deadpool. I don't have the Magneto,
Open it
but they've
up,
never
Jake. Come
made.
on,
Nah,
man. Let it breathe. Let it breathe.
I don't need to because I'll show you now. I'll show you a little bit of fun. And I'll have to get this out for the boys. Don't need to because I have the Deadpool.
Oh, nice. Yeah, and some people know, by the way, but Jake's always doing like some fun photos with his Legos. You know?
Yeah, I need to do some more, don't I? Oh,
Yeah,
wait.
those are funny.
I've-
Yeah, that little Wolverine is funny, man.
So
Yeah.
they're out of the set anyway. The Deadpool you can pay like anywhere up to $100 for.
Oof.
That's mint. That's perfect. So you pay a chunk. But here we go.
Doctor Doom. Who was that guy?
Doom also was around 2013. They've only ever made one.
Oh wow.
Uh, they're about a $35 figure, something like that. Depend as mint as that, you probably pay 35, maybe more.
Yeah,
Well,
that's
yeah, but I
nice.
could change my mind on them at any time. Like you can ask me next week.
Yeah.
We five different things.
And to close it out, Jake, is there anything that you would change about the hobby?
But Marvel card hobby.
Just the collectible hobby in
Yeah,
general.
yeah, yeah. Make people tell the truth.
Yeah.
Simple.
Mhm.
Just tell the
Yeah.
truth.
The
Don't
truth.
pretend everybody's your greatest mate. Always say it all the time. Always my greatest mate. I mean, I've kind of known you for 3 years through messages. We haven't spoken every week for 3 years, mate. It's took me probably 2 years to do this.
My greatest mate. Yeah, I like that. Yeah,
Yeah, man, your greatest mate.
there's a lot of that going on, you know? Yeah, there's a lot of team ups.
Yeah, yeah, a lot of team ups. Depending which artist away needs selling that week or that month, you know what I mean?
Yeah, that's true,
We
man.
know how it is.
The truth shall set you free, in other words, you know?
The truth, just wheel and deal. Do whatever you want, wheel and deal, but just tell the truth, you know.
Will and deal, but keep it real.
Just keep it real. I always do. I tell
Uh-huh.
people what I pay for stuff.
Yeah.
If you want to pay whatever for it, that's fine. I'll tell anybody what I pay for stuff. It's fine, but don't take food out of people's mouth. I mean, I don't buy and sell as a living. Thought about it once, and we all know how shady it is. But don't take food out of people's mouths. But
Mm.
when you fully know well that these people are doing it, they're doing it for a living to buy and sell, or full well they're not driving around in a brand new car. They're driving
Mm.
around in a battered old car. And they're trying to make a few quid to buy some extra stuff, for their collection or for their kids or whatever. Don't be a tosser. Just be honest. It's simple.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
that's
it.
hilarious. That's a good message, man. And again, just to shout out Jake one more time, if you want to go to his Instagram, it's at Retroverse UK. If you want to go to his YouTube, it's the same. He also has he's the you and Jake, or excuse me, you and True Blue are for Nate are for the Mental Con. You guys got the Mental Con thing going on.
Yeah,
He
yeah,
also
yeah.
Yeah, he also has an OnlyFans for his feet pic. So if you're looking for like foot pictures, Jake is the guy. That's
And
his
the
main
man.
that's a main source of income. He doesn't mention that, but that's his main source of income. That's how he's able to buy all the collectibles.
No, my claim to fame is that Ash Gonzalez did. Who was it? Who was it? He did it, and he did the feet for Mental Comedy. He did the sketch card.
I
Oh
don't know.
shit! Was
He
it
did?
Jean Grey? He did,
Oh
yeah. He
man.
did a sketch card, and she was lying there with her feet, and I'm just like, yes, yeah.
but
My
Jake,
good
man,
mate, my best mate, is not really.
but Jake, man, I appreciate you joining me. Like you said, we've done an episode before on the NSDC podcast, but we hadn't done a Cards and Coffee formally. And obviously, you're welcome back anytime. Hopefully, we could get other mates in here and just shoot the shit and make fun of each other, which
So,
was really what we really do.
we
All
can have
right,
a better laugh, can't we? Next time
100.
we can just have a better laugh, can't we? And not be as going through the history and shit and take the piss.
Yeah, for sure. And again, hey,
No,
Jake, go ahead.
I'm just saying thank you. I mean, I watched this from the beginning, the NSDC from the beginning, the Pat Fresh. I watched for the first 8 episodes, I think, and then stopped or whatever that was.
Hmm.
No, I'm honored to be on it. I'm like, yeah, shit, yeah.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you.
Hey,
Cheers.
thank you, man. Hey, once again, he's my best.